Afternoon, folks. It is Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. We're halfway through the week, so congratulations to you. First things first, if you have any hobby nightmares to send in, and you want them read out over the next few weeks, then make sure you send them into the email address down below. That's hobbynightmares@gmail.com. Send them in there, and I will be able to read them out over the next few weeks, because I'm now getting towards the end of my mailbag once again. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below, the Patreon button is also down below, and the button to become a member of the channel is also down below. If you do either of those two things, you're automatically entered into our monthly prize draw. The next one will be on the 6th of August, the Sunday, which will be for £50 worth of free models from Composite Games and a Dark Angels Command box set. That is the Deathwing Terminator Squad. Those guys will be available to go over, and there will also be, I'm thinking of doing this for, long-standing patrons only, but I will see. I think I have sourced a Repulsor Primaris tank now, so I need to make sure I get my hands on that, and then I can actually give it away to you guys for free, so that'll be really, really cool. On those days, we will do a prize draw as well. Sorry, not prize draw, a fundraiser as well for a mental health charity here in the UK, or anywhere in the world, really, where I think it can be used properly. And we will be doing that this month as well. So we're doing a very long live stream on the 6th, where we'll be doing a charity live stream after the prize draw. So let's get on with it, shall we? Wabbit says, hello, Wabbit. Northern Exile, dearest, love you long time. Let that sit there, okay? Been appreciating your work for a while now, and wanted to share my own hobby nightmare. Alrighty, let's get into it. First of all, this story happened in Italy back in the year of our Lord 2007, maybe 2008. Bear in mind, I'm translating, and I will try and provide further context if needed. Second, the villain of this story was, and is, me, I guess. Up until a while ago, the memory of my behaviour that day still sends shivers down my spine in the cold winter nights. Yeah, have you ever had that when you're standing in the shower and a really awkward thing that you did in the past just jumps into your head and you go, ah! That kind of a... Yeah, I do that all the time. Mrs. is like, why are you screaming? And you're like, the water went hot, sorry. Anyway, thirdly, this story contains the N-word, and I'm going to try and jiggle my way around it, but it's at the core of the story. We'll have to see. Okay, I'll just use the N-word, okay? Please don't write letters to me with that word in there if you can help it. There's no reason to do it. Just put N-word in there and it's fine. So, during that time of my life, I had just finished working a good job, and I'd gone back to university to finish the degree I'd started earlier. Being in my mid-20s at the time, and suddenly finding all of my old uni friends were moving on, and had less time, everybody was older than me, and in jobs by now, I was eager to find a hobby that had nothing to do with what was mainstream for my generation, and that went along with my geek mentality. So no, not football. Yeah, Italians are crazy about football. They are absolutely crazy. I have a few Italian friends, and they're all mental. Most of them, unfortunately, support Juventus, who are the biggest load of cheats ever to play the game of football. So I don't even know why people bother, but it is what it is. At the time, I had grown very fond of Francis Ford Coppola's second movie ever, Motorcycle Boy, and I'd bought a Beta Splendens and made bigger and bigger, relatively speaking, aquariums for her. Okay, so that's a big fish. Okay, cool. You're a strange man. I love this film, Motorcycle Boy. I'm also going to buy an aquarium for a large fish. Well, anyways, I started dropping old plastic toys in there for decoration, one of which was a tiny Evangelion, which, when I walked out in front of the hobby store selling 40k minis, my mind went back to some Xmas presents I had received back in the 80s, and had never really figured out what to do with them. Yes, early stages of nostalgia. Dude, your mind is just firing all over the place. This is not that coherent. This is reading like somebody's got a load of shit in their hand and just thrown it at a wall. And be like, yeah, that'll do. Anyway. Me and my now wife walked into the store and asked how much it would cost to buy one of them. An already painted Space Marine on show, and if it would survive being underwater for prolonged periods of time. Alright, it's coming together. It's no longer so random. Okay. I imagine the Games Workshop manager gave you a very quizzical look. After some surprise and inquiry, the owner/seller explained things to me and, one way or another, managed to introduce me to Agrax Earthshade. Okay. So a few months later, I'm at a Games Workshop store with, I think, about 500 points of Imperial Fist that I had painted. Dude, that's cool. The fact that you've gone in there for an aquarium decoration and some Chad has gotten you into the hobby. Like, literally, you just gone in there for a decoration for your fish, and now you're like, Dawn! That's great. Now, I wasn't overly interested in the tabletop game, but as I had given and had written on each base a name for every Space Marine, Kowalski, I'm looking at you. Oh my god, you're so cringe. I was eager to give them some battle statistics and maybe some kill marks on their bases. No, I've never managed to keep track. I was also juggling what at the time seemed like a massive rulebook, 9th edition, but still lost 2 matches to people keeping their army rules to themselves. Anyways, as I was going solo in this adventure of mine, games at the store would have to be with strangers. Said strangers were all younger than me. There was a group of teenagers in their last high school years. I never really bonded with them. That's probably good, mate, that you don't bond too well with teenagers. And kept things polite, although they did seem a lot more adjusted than the Magic the Gathering crowd I had come across a few years earlier. Yes, okay, so I'm not... Magic the Gathering crowd, it's kind of like Space Wolves. I know nice Space Wolves players. I do. Right? It's just there are a lot of people who let the side down for them. The same thing goes for MTG players, right? I know a lot of nice MTG players, but the bad ones I know, oh, they're bad, you know? Yeah, the bad ones I know are, shall we say, in your face, loud, obnoxious, waving things around, complaining when things don't go their way, you know, stereotypical. Anyways, oh yeah, somebody said to me the other day, I had an email the other day, we had a good back and forth, actually, after a while, but I said to them, look, you know, they said to me that I tend to have a disdain for nerds, and I hesitate to ask, but I said, you know, do you watch my channel? Because do you not know the advice that I give to... The only people who say... Listen, look, I know I've got many faults, and I say many things on the channel that I come to regret, because that's what this channel is. You know, I come here, and it is a stream of consciousness, and sometimes I say something, and then I immediately walk away from the computer and go, I'm not re-recording it, but damn, that might get me into trouble, right? Cool. Brilliant. I know I'm not perfect, but far from it. But, the only people who tend to say to me, you don't like nerds, are the ones who don't like getting straight medicine. They're fat, know-it-all, sit down, I know everything, I please don't try and change me. Listen, you make your life choices, all power to you, man. All power to you. And maybe my advice isn't for you. If you're happy being overweight and having your pants round your arse and having a neck beard and being smelly, that's all you, man. And do you know what? If you're happy being that, be that. As long as you're a nice guy, I really don't care. If you're a nice guy, awesome, man. You know, I might find it hard to be around you all the time, but I will always give you the time of day because, you know, you're a decent bloke. But if I'm giving that advice to somebody else who wants to claw their way out of looking like that, as long as I'm doing help for those people, that doesn't mean that I hate nerds. That's not how it works, right? That is not how it works at all. Okay? Don't get offended if I give somebody advice to not look like you, even if you're a nice guy. Because not everybody wants to look... Some people want to lose weight and better themselves and actually be healthy. That's fine. And if you're fine as you are, then that's also fine. You know, it's all good. Just don't be a dick about it. And don't accuse me of not liking nerds. Dude, I am one. I am one. I just want other people to have a decent life. And if they're struggling with mental issues, most of those will be tied up in how they look and how they are perceived by others. If you want to change that, then change it. But, you know, don't sit in the fire and complain it's hot. And then when I try to grab somebody else and pull them out of that fire, you start complaining, saying that's offensive. Go fuck yourself, dude. Anyways. Yes, this is all relevant. We're carrying on with the story, by the way. Amongst said kids were 2 Ethiopian kids. They had grown up in Italy and spoke fluently, but they, or maybe I was just friends with one of them, I'm not sure how, regardless. Okay. So one day, after being slapped hard by his Necron army, which pew-pewed me from afar with a pyramid thingy, we both sat down and did some painting. I'm not sure how to word this, so I'll just spit it out. As I was painting, in yellow, those damn Space Marines I keep increasingly frustrated with myself for painting. Or dude, this is written like you've gone back to like throwing shit at a wall again. Can you just, if you're gonna send in a Hobby Nightmare, and this goes for anybody sending them in, just make sure they're coherent. Don't try and make jokes. Don't try and talk like you're in some Quentin Tarantino movie, right? Just talk normally, and I can read it, no problem. All right. Or we're not going to get what you're talking about. So you're sitting there painting your Imperial fists. I'm translating for you now, because this is, you know... And this isn't you being Italian, by the way. This is you trying to be clever. Alright? That's fine, but, like, it makes it harder to read. I'll read it verbatim and see what people think. Look, I'm not sure how to word this, so I'll just spit it out. As I was painting, ellipses in yellow, ellipses those, ellipses... damn Space Marines, I was increasingly frustrated with myself, or the paint, or the mini, ellipses, I'm not sure, ellipses. Anyways, my hands, do you know what I mean? It just... So, you're painting, your Imperial fists, and your hand slipped. No problem. And so did my mouth, and while I never really made use of the word, for reasons I will now call intrusive thoughts, I mumbled the N-word. What? Okay. I can't even say the second word. Well, let's say it translates to something like damn N-word. But, you know, worse in Italian. Oh my god. Shit. I swear it was entirely directed at the mini, and I had no intention of directing the insult to the kid painting next to me. But as he was Ethiopian, he immediately stopped painting, looked up at me square in the eyes, and said, "Excuse me? Good lad. This guy's got a set of balls. Good, call him out. Call him out. Be like, what the fuck did you just say?" Right? Listen, I'm gonna come down on your side. This is the guy who's writing this. I'm gonna come down on your side here. Because what I think's happened here is you're so subconsciously obsessed with not saying that word, right? That something jolts you and you immediately say the word. We've all done it, or we've all nearly done it and got away with it, right? Not this word, but maybe other words that you don't want to say. Because you're thinking to yourself, you know, it's somewhat sort of like, you know, standing on a large bridge and thinking, oh, I might just jump off. And you know you're not going to, but, like, you know, your mind wants to go there, right? That's the same thing. It's like you're thinking to yourself, how would I ruin this guy's day and make myself the most horrible person? You know, oh yeah, I'd probably say that, you know. And then you're thinking, oh no, God, I'd never do that. And then so you're obsessed with not saying it, and as soon as something shocks you, you go, oh, N-word. It's like, there's no excuse for it, right? But I do know what you mean. I do know what you mean. If that's what happened, right? If you're a racist, then go fuck yourself. But, like, if I'm thinking that's what's happened here, and that you're obsessed with making sure this guy's having a good time, and it's, you know, it might be a hobby friend. You're like, yes, okay. What was the one thing I don't want to say in this situation? That word. Okay. Oh! N-word. Right? Yeah, I get what you're doing. At this point, I was terrified and paralysed. It was before the current era, but I had used the word in a denigrative form and not in a social American way of saying it. And I started apologising profusely. I think I said something like, "I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said that. I'm so ashamed of myself. Please forgive me. I will never do that again." Dude, fair enough. fair enough. I bet you this guy's alright as well. The dude was fine and accepted my apology, but to this day, remembering that that was me, that I did and I said that, makes me want to crawl into a cave and never come out. Dude. There's no happy ending here. But that dude's a Chad, right? He literally went, excuse me, and then you said, I'm really sorry, and you apologised properly as well. You know, I'm betting he kind of knows why you've done that, you know, that's what I'm thinking. Oh my god. I would elaborate further, but I think I've already exceeded my monologue alert word count a while ago. As I often hear intense stories on your channel, I thought I'd leave this one at that and let you have a laugh. And don't be ashamed of your crush or major kill, I'm sure he'll notice you eventually. What? I never said that. Did I say that? He's a good looking man. Like, you know, it is what it is. Alright. I kind of think, like, a lot of my friends who are like, I'd never do anything gay, no man is handsome, I think they're more gay than the ones who are like me who go, oh, that's a good looking guy. Right? I can look at a Henry Cavill, or a, I'll put it this way, right? Put it this way. I was watching telly with the missus the other day, and she was saying to me how much she likes Jason Momoa, right? And I was like, I know a better looking Jason Momoa. She was like, what? I said, yeah, watch this. So I turned on the wrestling and Roman Reigns came on TV. And she was like, oh, wow, you got good taste. And I was like, yes, I do. Right? And that's not gay. Like, it's just me saying, yeah, that's a good looking guy. And then that guy is the better looking version of that guy over there. It is what it is. Anyway, moving on. Aaron says, hey North, how's it going? Yes, I'm Canadian. First time writer and dyslexic, so mind my grammar. I found your channel a couple of months or so ago, and I gotta admit, man, that I love what you do. Cheers, man. Not enough fellas out there picking each other up. I got a hobby horror story that has quite a happy ending about how a chance meeting and a game company saved the hobby for me. Okay, cool, cool. I like nightmares that start out as nightmares and go positive. This is nice. Alright. My name is Aaron, and I started Warhammer back around the beginning of the pandemic. I always wanted to get into Warhammer, but time and funds were usually the roadblock keeping me from starting. When COVID hit, I found myself with a lot more time on my hands and room to explore my creative outlets. So I dove in head first. Lore, painting videos, and faction breakdowns had become my life. I loved every second of it. I excelled at the painting and base building part of the hobby, and before I knew it, I had an orc starter set done and the Nid army ready for war. I had even painted a commissioned Space Wolf army for a friend of mine. I'll attach some pictures in case you'd like to see. Okay, let's have a little look. Let's have a little look, because every time I don't put the things on, you know, people start whinging at me. I would like to see the models. Okay, cool. Right, hopefully, guys, don't take it too seriously when I do impressions of you. All right, like I'm just giving you shit. That's all. All right. But put the Space Wolf models on. I don't get to see the fucking hell. Oh, these look cool. These look cool. Dude, you're a beginner? Fuck off. You're kidding me, right? You're a beginner. Oh, piss off. Really annoys me when somebody starts the hobby and they're painting at this level already. Oh. I bet if Grimnar looks amazing. Of course. Of course. I started the hobby 3 weeks ago. Here's my first attempt. Fucking hell. Dude, you got serious talent. Well done to you, sir. You have got serious talent for picking out colours. You've even managed to make the Space Wolves look good. Yeah. That's saying a lot. Space Wolves are lame. And they look really good. That's annoying. Moving on. Seriously though, well done. But by the time the thrill of everything finally died down and I was ready to experience the tabletop aspect of the hobby, I came to the horrifying discovery that I was alone. My friendly local game store was over an hour's drive away. I'm a 32-year-old man with a newborn son and a full-time job. My friend who I painted the wolves army for fell out of contact with me shortly after I had finished it. It's not because your army was bad, man. Fucking hell. Hopefully he paid you. And my hometown just didn't have the interest. To make matters worse, I didn't even know how to play myself. I thought there was a with there. I didn't even know how to play with myself. I was like, what? After a while, I just stopped painting. I couldn't see the point in it anymore. I'd sank so much money and time into things that were just sitting in my shelf collecting dust, and I was ready to just get rid of it all and get on with my life. Well, I found myself hating something that I used to love so much. But then one day, me, my wife and son went to an art show, roughly an hour and a half away, that we got to go to once a year, and look around, and we looked forward to seeing, since it was in the place my wife and I had first met. We had run into a man with a booth painting minis for a game called Conquest, The Last Argument of Kings. We hit it off immediately, talking about our hobbies and how how he was a Vanguard for Parabellum, the makers of Conquest. After a while of chatting, we said our goodbyes, not before my wife grabbed one of the contact cards for the guy, I'll call him Dave, that he had at his booth. Okay. I couldn't believe I had found someone else in the wargaming hobby, and was so excited it felt like when I first started again, until I remembered I hadn't asked the guy his name or how to contact him. In comes my wife to save the day. After reaching out to Dave, he helped me learn this new game and hooked me up with some models for me to try out. I was absolutely hooked. I quickly bought a full army and couldn't wait to get started and ready to play. Rather quickly though, I ran into the same problem I had with Warhammer. I had no one to play with. Sure, me and Dave would meet up every couple of months for a game, but I wanted more. So Dave mentioned I should apply for the Vanguard Program myself, since I was so passionate about the game. I was really hesitant to do so. I'm just a dad from a super small town with nothing going on, but eventually I said, you know what, fuck it, what do I have to lose? I emailed Parabellum, and after a while had a meeting with their reps. Some of the kindest people I've ever had the pleasure of talking to, and before long, they told me I was accepted into the program. I started holding events in town and inviting anyone I could think of to come play introduction games. Every month I would do this. The company would allow me to get a certain amount of money's worth of models to give out to people who would attend my events. With the paywall somewhat out of the way, I really started to pick up interest from folks around town. Since then, me and others who would frequent the stuff, I would host started our own tabletop club. I'm glad to say our little club is now thriving and meet weekly to play, talk shop and paint. I got approval from the company to go demo their game at a semi-local gaming convention. I'm not being sponsored in any way to talk about this company, I just wanted to place to say thank you to them for all that they've done for me. And if you'd like to know more about the game, I suggest watching the boys over at Play on Tabletop. They do excellent battle reports and intros to the game. Side note, I just started playing Conquest and found your channel, and I donated my orcs and Nid army to the kind of local game store, and asked the owner to please find them a good deserving home. That's my computer, by the way. Much love and thank you for the read. Dude, that's brilliant. And do you know what they've done there? In your interview, you've likely said, look, I come from a small town. I think people here would love the hobby, but there's no one to play with, and I want to be that guy. I want to grow the hobby. And yeah, that's great. It's great that they recognise talent in you and they brought you on board. You are a talented hobbyist. Your models say that much, mate. So yeah, carry on, keep going, keep building that hobby place, and why not go into the Discord and let people know, it's in our Discord, let people know where you are. You may get a few other people turning up. Just saying. Skoda says, Dear Northern, I came to hear a guy who used to work for Games Workshop talk about his time with the company. I stayed for the empathy and honesty that Hobby Nightmares brings to me every week. Cheers, man. Thank you very much. My Warhammer journey started when I was a young kid. I remember early on, in elementary school, I carried around the cut-out advertisement of the Calgar model from the Games Workshop catalogue in my pocket. At around 10 or 11, I tagged along with my older brother to his friend's house where they had an epic 40k box set. I used to just hold and marvel at those Titans and Orc machines. When I was 14, I started an Imperial Guard army of Valhallans and Steel Legion. Dude, you just pick the most expensive army, why don't you? You know, just right out of the gate. Go and ask Mordian how much it is to collect armies like that. He'll set you straight. And also start getting you more into Imperial Guard, obviously. But, you know, that is what it is. I started an Imperial Guard army of Valhallans and Steel Legion, and I would play games at a local club at the Air Force Base gym. I actually wanted to play as the Dark Angels, as I thought the robes looked really cool, but an older guy at the club talked me out of it, saying that most guys played Marines and I should pick a different army. I always included Slifer in my army, so I would have one Marine in robes. I was terrible at the game, but I loved it. This is until I turned 16 years old in high school and wanted to get a girlfriend. Oh, alright. Fun's over. At the time, it was believed that I needed to stop doing the nerd stuff, so I joined the football team and started working out. Heartbreakingly, I sold off... Mordian, if you're watching this, cover your ears. Heartbreakingly, I sold my guard army to a guy in my high school for very little money. Oh. When I turned 33 years old, I was strolling around a mountain town near my home and came across a model shop. I popped in to look at board games and overheard the owner trying to convince a pair of teenage girls to buy Blackstone Fortress instead of what the expansion for Settlers of Catan they came in looking for. That dude swinging for the fences. Oh my god. And the entry-level game that is Settlers of Catan. Oh my days. You don't want that, girls. You want Blackstone Fortress. Looking back, that's still a funny leap to make. I then took a stroll into the Warhammer section and had a nostalgic moment looking at all of the old models. Once the girls left, the owner came and talked... well, yeah, once the owner chased the girls out of his store, the owner came over and talked to me about Warhammer. I told him that I used to play, but I wasn't looking to get back into the hobby per se. I bought a White Dwarf just to support a small store and a trip down memory lane. The next few days were spent poring over the pages, and then the bug bit me. I found the guy from high school that I sold my army to on Facebook and asked him to buy my army back 17 years later. He still had it, but refused to sell. So instead, I bought a few models off the buy and sell, and a few paints from the friendly local game store. And 3 years later, I have a complete army of converted fallen angels, and I'm working on finishing a second Eldar army. Now, on to a combination Chad story and the Nightmare story. So on paper, I'm a guy who has his shit together. I have a good paying job, I do combat sports, and I have a spouse and a kid. But inside, I think a lot of me is still a nerd who is mad he listened to the couple who told him to stop playing or die a virgin. The above re-entry into the hobby happened when my work took me to a remote mountain town a few states west. The first few months were spent painting and listening to Lewittin catch me up on the lore. I then happened to meet a guy in town who told me there was a Warhammer club that met once a week at a game store. I remember being really nervous about the first time I went in. I have no clue why, but I was. I went in and walked to the back, only to find it empty. I asked the worker at the front, and she said yes, there was a group of players, but they were all at a tournament and out of town. I came back the following week and was introduced to a fantastic group of guys. Among them, there was a natural leader. He was charismatic and kind, and told me I had come to the right time and the right place, as they were just starting an escalation event where every week you would bump up 250 points in your armies. But they were at 500 points that night. I played him in a game against his Chaos Demons. Now, I'm not sure if he let me win, but if he did, it was a pro move because it was a cherry on top of my return to Warhammer. So shout out to this guy, who we'll just call Mr. Chad, for being a fantastic ambassador to the game. He helps organise tournaments, makes terrain, gets new people involved, and is overall an inspiration to me. That's really, really cool, dude. What a guy. Now, on to the Nightmare. At this time, I was playing at least one game every week. and sometimes I would pop in for an evening game on another weeknight if I could find an opponent. I was understanding my army and getting a handle on the rules, and just put out on a group chat that I wanted a game that weekend. So, Sunday afternoon, I set up a match with an orc player. I had met this guy multiple times, but had not yet played him. We picked a 1,500 points match and a time to start. I showed up pretty early, as we had agreed on a start time, and got everything set up. I had books open, lists out, terrain roughly managed and arranged, and a few missions we could choose from. Well, the guy rolls in late, like 15 to 20 minutes late. Then he just takes forever to set up, and by the time we are starting, it's been almost an hour. Now, I was not in a hurry when I got there, but I tried to keep the game moving along and have fun along the way. But he would measure every model in a squad and reposition repeatedly, and hum and haw about every single decision, stretching his turns out to a mind-numbing length of time. Then, throughout the game, he's doing weird movement shenanigans. I am asking him repeatedly to explain the rerolls and bonuses to moves and charges that he gets. His explanations were confusing, but I still felt new and just took his word for it. The one that really bummed me was when we were near the end game and his Death Dread made a 14-inch charge. I had moved my captain around behind a building to get him out of range from this exact scenario, but it was explained to me that the Dread had a max charge of 14 inches, 12-inch base plus 1 for being speed freaks, and that he only needs 1 inch. He needs to be within 1 inch of my captain. Again, that did not sound right to me, and I asked for clarification, and he gave me another confusing answer. Dude, I bet you there are people in the comment section right here who can actually tell you whether that's true or not, even in an old edition. Being new, I trusted him and watched my last character as he was crushed into the ground. The game continued at its painfully slow pace, and at around 4 hours in, I was considering just calling it. I remember looking out the window at the beautiful sunny day and thinking about all the other things I could be doing. That's the worst. Oh my god, that's the worst feeling in the world. Oh my days, that is the worst. I hate that. I hate that. That is the absolute worst. I've been there, man. I have been there. Oh dear. Like you're not enjoying your game and you're thinking, I'm being cooped up inside playing this game with this absolute odd job, and I could be outside touching grass or having a beer, making friends, being sociable, doing anything else but this. Yeah, I've been there, man. I have been there. Yeah, wrong opponents. This is why I say, choose your opponents, don't choose the army. If you want to play 40k and you want to play it every week, choose your opponents. That's the most important part. Choose your group, choose your opponents. The armies come and go, but the opponents, man, they're the essential part to playing the game and enjoying it. In the end, it was an orc victory, but the consolation prize was that I got to leave the building. I went home and told my wife, that was terrible. I am never playing him again. Later, I replayed the game in my head, and after talking to Mr. Chad, and without mentioning names, it was explained to me that several of the rules that were used against me were not real or were misinterpretations at least. Especially that critical charge. That player, however, knew the rules, and he'd been playing orc armies exclusively for over a decade. Again, I shook my head and vowed to stay away from him. More than anything, I could not wrap my head around why he does this kind of thing. I'm brand new, maybe 10 games in, and he just needed to beat me so badly that he was willing to make up rules. Yeah, I that's the thing, man. I don't get that either. I don't get it either. I talk to my friend Steady all the time when we're playing video games, and if we were playing Warzone or something like that, and we would see a cheater like teleporting across the map and stuff, or like aimbotting you, I'd be like, what do they get out of it? And he says, well, they must get something or they wouldn't do it. There are sick people out there who just love ruining somebody else's day. That's just what they do, right? So the fact that you kind of know he's cheating makes it even better for him. Yes, he's desperate to win, and yes, he is so insecure in his own self that he needs to win by any means, right? Even if it's not really a win, it's illegitimate, he needs to win. Not only that, but if you're having a bad day, it sort of makes his day better. There are people out there like that. Ask any hobbyist, they've come across at least one. There are people out there like that. Ask anybody who's played an online game, dude. Do you know what online cheaters are? Do you know what hackers are? They're these dudes who play Warhammer who have the advantage of being anonymous. Right? If that dude could be anonymous and you didn't know who he was and or whatever, he would have cheated so hard there. It would be so obvious that you would have just packed up your models and left. And he would have called it a win. Same kind of people. Afterward, I even tried to give him an out or a redemption arc, and I messaged him and thanked him for the game. I told him that afterward, I scoured my own codex and the rules, and admitted a few mistakes that I had made, such as the Signum model rule for my Devastators being applied incorrectly. I then asked if there were any mistakes he made with his army that I could learn from, or that he didn't catch, and he came back to me with a resounding no. Well, okay, whatever, what a douchebag, dude. I managed to avoid him until an Apocalypse game with custom rules was played. The standout for me was when my recently painted Fellblade centerpiece got one-shotted on turn 1 by a Shadow Sword, dealing over 30 wounds. But as the game wound down, 10 hours of Apocalypse later, the Orc player believed he was on the cusp of victory. However, the game had special rules, and once one team was defeated, the remaining player of the winning team turned on the other. This was explained at the start, but it meant there was one more turn than he had thought, and a Marine player dropped down his Terminators and made a clutch charge to sweep his Mega Knobs off an objective. This eliminated the Orc player entirely, and although the moment was met with friendly cheers, as it was a major swing in the story, the room went completely silent when he picked up his Mega Knobs and started throwing them across the room. There were about 8 stunned guys and about 30 seconds of stunned silence until the Marine player started consolidating his units. Oh my days. Oh my days, that's terrible. He just... Hang on. So the Marine guy just watches him do this and then does his 3-inch consolidation silently. That's so funny. That's some Chad behaviour. He just watches him throw this stuff across the room and goes, okay, so a 3-inch consolidation. It was a full-on temper tantrum I would expect from my 3-year-old. Not a man in his 30s. I remember shaking my head and just muttering, this fucking guy. Oh man. Sadly, I have to leave the area for work, and on my next game, I played one more match with Mr. Chad. It was a fun narrative game where I lost, but Cypher shot an Archon down after failing his super save and then dying. But it was not enough, alas. After the game, we were chatting about my time there and the group. He asked if I had any negative experiences, and I told him about the one story I had from here today. He said that it was not an atypical response from others he had talked to. However, Mr. Chad expressed regret in that, as we were the only gaming group in the area, if Orc Guy was not to attend, that he would have nowhere to go. For all the Europeans out there, America is really fucking big. You might have to drive 150 miles to get to another town sometimes. That means if he's out of our group in London, he might have to drive to Birmingham to find other players. But he did mention that Orc Guy had been talked about by other members of the group, and they were balancing a lot of factors. I know it might seem cut and dry, get in the sea, but this dynamic of this small town gaming space meant I really saw the logic. We were all characters in our own right, and getting slap happy with the banhammer could lead to a fracturing and the destruction of the 40k scene in the small area. I do have another tale, more of a very sad tale, but I'll save that for another day. Yeah, do so, man, but that was really good. Northern, in a nearby state, there is a thing called Field of Dreams, and as I watch your channel continue to grow, I think of the misquoted line from that movie, if you build it, they will come. So keep building this base, this channel, this therapeutic nostalgic community. If you do, oh, people will come. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. You're right. in that. Yeah, you are completely right in that. In a small town, when somebody's got nowhere else to go, you know, empathy does win out. And at the end of the day, in a small town like that, I don't really think you need to police it that much, because his opponents will dry up, right? His opponents will dry up. If there are 10 to 15 people playing that hobby in your town, and you're all meeting up all the time, and his rep is already getting around, this guy has weeks at most in the hobby left, unless he changes his tune. So, I'm thinking that Mr. Chad there is he's kind of letting it self-police, which is the best thing to do, is have people run an intervention eventually and go, listen man, you know, you have nowhere else to play, and you're turning us off of playing you, so either change that, or don't play. You know? That's coming. It will come. That people will self-police. But as you are right, there is no need to ostracize. Now, if they're in London or something, then yeah, get this guy out the group. Get this guy right out of the group and start again. Anyway. Love you all long time. I will speak to you very, very, very soon. I'll speak to you tomorrow. A bit more of a serious note tomorrow, and on Friday we will be doing more funny Hobby Nightmares. But tomorrow will be a bit more of a serious video. So if you're not up for that, no problem. I will see you on Friday for some more funny Hobby Nightmares. I have stockpiled some funny ones for Friday to make sure that we are having a good end to our week and not a depressing one. Because tomorrow we're helping people, and helping people sometimes in the hobby can be, you know, a little difficult, but it is what it is. It's going to be an interesting video. I love you all long time. Speak to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye.